Hey guys, so Lloyd here, back in with another top 10 video, and today we're going to be counting down the top 10 action figures of 2021, so far. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty guys, as I said before, today we're going to be counting down my top 10 favorite action figures of 2021, so far. Now I will tell you that this is a video I wanted to put up at the beginning of the month, but I was holding out for some stuff to come out, and surprise, surprise, it did not, whether it was due to shipping delays and or otherwise. Here we are, going to have to work with what we have. But before we get into it, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I laid myself out some ground rules for this list as I did with my previous top 10 lists. So, with that being said, rule number 1, pretty self-explanatory, I gotta have it. I don't know how good or bad something is unless I have it, and as much as I dig on the new Marvel Legends Ultron and Ursa Mage figures, I don't have them, therefore I don't know how good or bad they are. Rule number 2, pretty self-explanatory again, had to come out, quote-unquote, this year. Now I did kind of fudge this rule for one of the entries on my list, decided to make an exception to this rule. But, for example, as much as I do like Lord Dragul from the Mythic Legions All-Stars 3.0, I believe, he was technically released for PowerCon, came out last year, therefore he does not qualify to be on this list. Rule number 3, no reissues, and this one probably hurts me the most because as much as I love the Mythic Legions, going back to it, All-Stars 3.0 Malleus figure, he is technically a reissue. But that's not to say he's going to be excluded from some VIP treatment towards the end of the year. He's just not going to qualify to be on the top 10 list. Really good figure though. Rule number 4, this and number 5 are a little bit more personal to me, because rule number 4 is I'm not just going to put something on the list because the rest of the internet likes it. I'm going to put it on the list because I like it. That's kind of self-explanatory, but there are some ding-dongs in the comments who like to say nasty things regarding top 10 lists of plastic people we spend too much money on. AKA people who are freaking pathetic. So, just going to throw that out there. And if you got a problem with that, suck it. And rule number 5, this one is a lot more personal, to me at least. The Mythic Legions Aerithir Wave Belphegor is disqualified from being on my top 10 action figures of the year list because he would be number 1 regardless of what comes out between now and the end of the year. Even though we do have a NECA Gargoyles Goliath and a Mezco 112th Ghost Rider coming, this guy would still be number 1 because he looks like something I drew as a kid and expanded upon in my later years. So I'm 100% biased towards this figure, so I'm going to leave him off the top 10 lists just to keep things a little bit fresh and less predictable. But again, like Malleus, that's not going to disqualify him from some VIP treatment towards the end of the year. If you remember my top 10 list last year, you know what I'm talking about. So with that being said, let's kick things off with the number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 10 spot, we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Beyond. This is the Target exclusive version that came with the Joker bot torso piece, and while I do think the variant with the Terry McGinnis face on it is a little bit better just because it's more show accurate, this is still a pretty cool figure. I didn't rank higher on the list because of how you attach the arms to the wings and the fact that the wings are not removable, but other than that, this guy is really, really solid. Just a bit of a pain in the butt to find because, well, it is a Target exclusive after all. So he takes the number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 9 spot is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Zemnu Build-A-Figure Wave Dormammu. And even though I think this guy could use a lot more contrast on his face, kind of differentiate the colors between the fire and his face, kind of goes without saying. I think this is a really solid figure of the Dormammu. Even though, yeah, it would have been nice if he was a little taller, but again, he's a size shifter, so it totally works. And maybe some better fire effects, but I digress. Coming in at the number 8 spot is the McFarlane Toys Mandarin Spawn. This is the Scarlet Edge variant, which is the version of Mando Spawn I have the original figure of, so I'm a little bit more partial to this one. He was originally released as a gold label / Walmart exclusive. He's a bit more bluish with some gold. This guy is of course red and gold, and I think of the two has the better paint apps. It would have been nice to get a little bit more, but there's a deluxe version with even more paint apps than this one. But I gotta say, really dig the sculpt and paint that we got on this guy, and he comes with 2 cool swords, so you gotta give him that. Coming in at the number 7 spot is the 4 Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Aerothere Wave Malafar, who is just a super cool, nasty, evil little demon imp fiend character from the Aerothere Wave, which you could essentially army build because he does come with some extra parts to mix and match and change things up. But I love the head sculpt, the wings, the tail, and the pitchfork on this guy. He's got the hoof feet, which I think is new for this body style. I'm not sure if we've gotten hoof feet this size before. They look a little bit smaller than Zarya's, who's another demon from this line. But I just really love how this guy came out, and he's super fun to mess around with. Coming in at the number 6 spot is the Coffin Comics Executive Replicas Loose Collector Lady Death figure. Yeah, that was a mouthful. But this figure is super duper cool because we've never really gotten a fully articulated Lady Death figure before. And that, for me, is super duper cool because Lady Death is one of my favorite 90s comic book characters, and this figure accentuates her perfectly. I will say I would have preferred maybe a cloth cape instead of the plastic one we got, and she is a bit tricky to get to stand up, so a base would have been nice, but all things considered, this is a really cool looking figure. Coming in at the halfway point in the number 5 spot, we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Death Metal Batman with his trusty Death Metal Bat Cycle, because these two are a magic made in heaven nor hell, really. I mean, I don't think I'd want to mess with these guys regardless. I say guys because, well, they're 2 peas in a pod. You can't separate them. They're an insufferable duo. Therefore, they're both going to share this spot because you can't have one without the other. If you have Death Metal Batman and don't have a Death Metal Bat Cycle, there's something wrong with you. Coming in at the number 4 spot is the first Mezco 1/12 collective figure I've ever gotten. That is, of course, going to be the DC Comics Dr. Fate. And shout out to Mr. Stephen Bishotti of the My Wife's Gonna Kill Me podcast for trading me this figure. And we can't also forget my good buddy Evil Villain. Shout out to him for gifting me something that I was able to trade and get this guy. And man, I don't do that often because I think it's wrong, but I gotta say, I'm really glad I did because this guy is awesome. He's got it all going on, man. He's got the wired cape, light up eyes and chest, alternate hands, alternate head, a spell book with stuff written on the inside of it, magic effects, a flight stand, and it's all easily repackageable for safe storage, which is exactly what I'm doing now, just so it doesn't take up a lot of space. I assure you, I will have him doing something a little bit more elaborate than just standing there for the video at the end of the year, because I am 99.98% sure that this guy is going to make it to my top 10 action figures of 2021 video, whenever that happens. Coming in at the number 3 spot is the Hasbro Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Voyager class Optimus Primal, because gosh darn it, Beast Wars is my jam, and I love this figure. Yeah, he's a little short maybe, but gotta be honest, he comes with so much. He's got his swords, he's got his shoulder cannons, he's got his arm cannons, he's got a pretty solid transformation and beast mode, which is another thing that makes it harder for Transformers to make it onto this list is the transformation. I know that was kind of not the case last year with the movie 1 Megatron, but in this case, it only adds to this guy's overall appeal, I'll say. It's a super fun figure. If you don't have it, what's wrong with you? The series just came out on Netflix. You gotta get Primal, man. Coming in at the number 2 spot is the McFarlane Toys Masterworks Kickstarter exclusive Spawn Remastered. That's right, this guy is kind of infamous this year. He was slated to come out last year, came out this year. Kind of controversial because he is kind of a statue, a little bit tricky to pose, but I can look past that because he comes with a crap load of accessories, very well presented as far as packaging goes, and just looks freaking cool standing there. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Looks pretty cool to me. And last, but certainly not least, coming in at the number 1 spot, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? It's gonna be none other than the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Aerotheer Wave, Aerotheer and Aethon. And I'm kind of cheating here. It's a bit of a twofer, but much like the Death Metal Batman and his Bat Cycle, you can't have one without the other here. You got one, you gotta get the other. You can't just have one, gotta have both. And let me just say that this is, I think, the crown jewel of the Aerotheer Wave. As much as I love Belphegor, and you guys know I love him just a smidge more than these two, these guys are absolutely no slouches. This Aerotheer figure is freaking awesome. This Aethon figure is freaking awesome. And if you got room for a Masterverse Battle Cat, you gotta have room for one of those, right? Now, I will say, nothing on this list was perfect, but such is life. With that being said, though, these guys just look sick standing there. They got the cool shoulder pauldrons on Aerotheer with that awesome head sculpt and the fire effect on the sword. That giant demon head belt buckle. Then Aethon's got the same armor to complement his rider. They just look like a match made in this case, most likely hell. So with that being said, we are done here. That has been my top 10 favorite action figures of 2021. Yeah, so far. Again, shipping delays and or otherwise prevented it from being what I wanted it to be, but such is life. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload more content to the channel. Probably going to be wrapping up the Marvel Legends Zemnu Build-A-Figure Wave relatively soon here, and I'm getting my Mezco 112th Collective Blade from Mr. Travis Bowles of the My Wife's Gonna Kill Me podcast relatively soon here. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, again, shipping delays and or otherwise has pretty much put a halt on my entire channel. So, on me, I guess. But if you haven't already, hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Production for all kinds of toy and action figure related posts and whatnots. And if you haven't already, before you go, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what your top 10 favorite action figures of the year so far are. But remember, keep the comments civil. This world sucks enough as it is. This is my list, not your list. Our opinions are obviously going to be different. No need to fight over it. Like children. Man-children. Overgrown baby man-children. Okay, you get the point. And until next time, I will catch you guys later.